The first guy in the bottom, that puts him against a quick qualifier of the day, none other than the old big blue Bigfoot.
Yeah, you talk about new trucks. This is Bigfoot 10. This is the latest creation from St. Louis in the stable of Bob Chandler. Bigfoot 10, another two-frame race truck.
With the engine in the rear. That's one of the big changes on the 10 truck. The engine went to the rear. Porter in the Chevrolet keeps the engine in the front.
Oh, he got the whole shot. Porter got the whole shot. He leads Bigfoot, but here comes Bigfoot, and Andy Brass may have won it.
He caught him in the air, Gary, right at the finish line on the second jump. He literally flew past him.
How did he ever win this round? Now watch this. The whole shot belongs to Gary Porter right here. The Chevrolet has the advantage over the Ford. Gary Porter leads. They get to the second set of cars, and in the air, Andy Brass takes the victory.
Very vocal about that. He said, I can build a Ford that can be the best. Chandler says, I'm just going to keep doing my thing. I'll keep Andy Brass to see if we keep racing. But a lot of people think the only reason that Colt Cobra's in the game is to beat the big blue truck on his right.
Well, the Snake has been very, very vocal. There's some bad blood between Snakebite and the Ford contingent from Bigfoot. We're not sure why, but he wants in the worst way to beat the big blue truck.
Whoa, he's going to have to do better than that on the starting line. Andy Brass drilled him on the start.
But here comes the Snake. Andy Brass in trouble over the second set of cars. A very rare driving miscue on the part of Andy Brass. And Colt Cobra takes the victory. The Snake will advance.
Well, I guess that shows the youngsters out there, dream your dream and make it come true, because he said he could build a truck that would beat Bigfoot. Now, Foot leaves quick. Cobra stays cool. The truck settles down in no man's land.
But right here, coming over the second set, Andy Brass in trouble. Does not get the air he normally gets. Does not really clear the cars. He drives over the cars. The Snake wins, and he's with Army. Bigfoot 10, the newest in the stable of Bigfoot trucks out of St. Louis, Missouri. This is another two-frame racer with a rear engine configuration. He was only the second fast qualifier. That was somewhat of a surprise. And here is the Carolina Crusher with Gary Porter out of North Carolina.
Well, Porter run the engine up front in the Chevrolet. Andy Brass, like you say, comes with the number 10 truck. How do you know it's different? Everybody says that Bigfoot trucks are all blue. The red and yellow stripe tells you it's a racer. And boy, is it a racer. Look at that.
Talk about computer design. That's exactly how Bob Chandler designs the Bigfoot trucks on his home computer. And Bigfoot Andy Brass takes the victory over the Carolina Crusher. So we have Barefoot, the fast qualifier, advancing. Now Bigfoot, the second fast qualifier, has advanced.
Well, through this round, both lanes look to be pretty equal. Nobody's getting advantage so far. The truck that drives the best race is going into the next round.
Some good close first round competition here. Andy Brass in Bigfoot number 10.
Number 10, the engine's located to the rear of the driver. There's a lot of changes in the suspension of the truck. They're all still painted blue, but the red and yellow stripes say it's a race truck, and it's going to handle real soft.
Oh, and this is all Andy in the first half. Yeah, he takes it. Andy was well up in the first half of the run. Steve Hess made a run at him. But there again, Andy Brass takes the victory. So the second fast qualifier has also advanced.
You know, it's amazing how in this sport, like any other form of motorsports, they're starting to tweak the chassis. Some guys run good one place, other guys run good the other place, but the finish line is at the same place.
So look at the Bigfoot Ford against the Equalizer. Andy Brass against young David Morris.
I'll give you a comparison here. Computer against a pencil. Pencil leads first.
The pencil's going to win it. The Equalizer knocks out Bigfoot. The Equalizer, only the fourth fast qualifier, knocks out the second fast qualifier. Let's look one more time, Army.
But he comes back into this thing through the loser bracket, doesn't he, Gary?
Yeah, he was there as a fast loser from the last round. An impressive drive for young David Morris. And he is down trackside with Army Armstrong. Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Lee, and we are just underway, but we have a stoppage in the action. We are surrounded by controversy. So with that story, to clear up the situation, let's go to the pit area and Army Armstrong, and I'll go back to the broadcast booth.
Gary, we've had a little controversy down here on the track, and I'm going to try to straighten it out for you. Bigfoot made a buy run. He ran out of bounds, okay? He did not hit the second set of cars at all. Rules say when you run out of bounds, you're disqualified. In this sport, when you're disqualified, you do not come back. You go on a trailer. This was in the first round. Bigfoot, the fastest truck of the day, got that buy run for being the fastest. But he's not going to be able to come back because the drivers got with George Carpenter, and they had a meeting to decide a rule. There was not a rule in this particular situation. This is the way the rule works. Buy run or not. You run out of bounds, you're disqualified, you don't come back. What I'm telling you, Bigfoot's not going to be back in the race today. Let's go back to the race in action right now. They're coming to life.
And there's a look at Andy Brass from fast qualifier to a disqualified spectator. So he'll be watching the action this afternoon. We're all out of Spring, Texas, down in the area where Scott Stevens hails from.
As a matter of fact, Paul Huffaker was the original crew chief for Scott Stevens. When I first met him, I met those guys together. Andy Brass, everybody knows the story. A hired gun for Bob and Marilyn Chandler out of Missouri, driving the awesome blue truck. Meanwhile, Purina Mainstay dog food truck is trying to bump this big guy off.
A lot of new sponsors coming in the monster truck competition. We can see the color scheme there on the mainstay. But look at the victory by Andy Brass.
Yeah, but Gary, when he tagged the brakes on the end, he's got some blue smoke coming out. They call that death smoke. That's usually the sign of a blown engine at this point in time. Wow.
Well, Andy appears to be motoring on back to the pit area. Let's look one more time. He gets the hole shot and takes the victory, but that smoke could be terminal.
He had horsepower at the end of the run when he backed on the throttles when the blue rolled out.
Well, Andy is back in the pit area, climbs out of Bigfoot 10. Let's get on and talk to him, Army.
Andy, you've got a tremendous amount of blue smoke coming out of the vehicle. What's causing that?
Now, the only thing we can think of has been sucking some intake gaskets on it. We have a little problem with the intake. We had to stack some gaskets there earlier this afternoon. We was putting it back together, and we're just thinking maybe we're just sucking them in there, and we're getting oil out of the intake and burning it.
Well, so perhaps a problem that can be rectified as it rounds, and there is a look at the latest from the Bob Chandler Bigfoot family. That is Bigfoot number 10, but still looking for victory number 1 this season. Andy Brass out of St. Louis, Missouri, the two-frame race truck. And this is what happened earlier in round 1. He went up against Wayne Smozanic, Tropical Thunder.
This shows us exactly how quick Andy Brass is in that starting tree. That truck designed to lift a lot. Horsepower was not taken away from him one bit. He went to the other end like a rocket, Gary.
So now we are in action, round 2. Carolina Crusher, Gary Porter out of Wadesboro, North Carolina, in the Chevrolet. He has certainly been a force the past couple of seasons, and he will stage against Big Blue, Bigfoot, the Ford of Bob Chandler out of St. Louis, Missouri.
Gary Porter is your defending champion in this series, so he would love nothing better than to do it 2 years in a row, but Andy Brass is not going to have a bit of that. Look at here.
Once again, we emphasize how important it is to cut a good light, and right there he underscored that.
Andy Brass is, we've got a truck named Snakebite, but Andy Brass today has snake bite-like reflexes. Look at that. But he's not powering real big over the first jump either. You notice that, Gary?
That his truck's not broken.
Yeah. It's really amazing. At the Jamborees, everybody comes loaded for bear. And Porter may not get a shot at this one. Let's find out. No love lost. As a matter of fact, I'll be up front. These guys just don't like each other. One in a Dodge, one in a Ford. Let's just watch this one. It'll be a street fight.
And Andy Brass,
you call it.
No, I can't. That's a photo finish. We'll wait for the officials. We'll ask George Carpenter who won that one.
Wow.
The fans don't know. They're waiting as well. There's a look at Fred Schaefer in barefoot. Let's look again.
Both trucks run a soft suspension. Notice how they both settle. Now, they can really make the horsepower work for them and literally fly to the finish.
And right there, you can see by that margin, Andy Brass takes the victory. He's with Army.
Right now, Gary, we got Andy Brass. Andy keeps going quicker and quicker, but something unique here. Left lane. You sat and studied it. You figured something out that everybody else couldn't. What was it?
I can't really say really about the lane. I don't think there's a whole lot of difference. I think it's just a lot of the guys' minds. We knew Fred that if it come down to us and him, he was going to pick the right lane. We was going to have to run the left. We run left in qualifying. We didn't do bad, so we figured we just got to pull a hard run on left lane. Just have to stand in it and not let out of it.
But the big question now is this afternoon.
And I explained to you in the previous round, there's no love lost between these guys. They're going to rerun each other, but Gary, there is. Now Andy Brass has lane choice, and he goes over to the lane that Barefoot was in just a minute ago.
There's a look at the semifinal round when it was so close, but Andy knocked out Fred. Andy takes the victory by just a few feet to advance, and he was to go up against Gary Porter in the Carolina Crusher. Gary once again be Bigfoot and Barefoot, but as you have mentioned, they have flip-flopped the lanes. Very close to the second set of cars, and it's Barefoot Fred Schaefer takes the victory. But there was some slight contact. Now, is that going to be a problem?
Yes, definitely. The rule is you cannot cross into the other man's lane and make contact after the finish line. Let's see if the officials saw that. Dodge may have won the battle, but I believe they lost the war. Okay, the replay's coming up. Is there contact after the finish line? Is there an imaginary center line that the truck will cross over? You make the call.
Right here, you can see that Fred Schaefer does indeed win by a fender.
That's the battle.
Let's look again. They're coming right at you. Now, keep in mind there's an imaginary center line between those two lanes. Fred, after he crosses the finish line, crosses that imaginary line and actually makes very slight contact there. And that's the war. There is Greg Fuchs down there right now talking to Fred Schaefer, and he is being told right now, hey, you've been disqualified. That is the ruling that we are getting right now. Once again, after the finish line, Schaefer crosses that imaginary center line right here and makes ever so slight contact. Let's go down to Army.
Well, when we started the show, we were talking about two teams that we knew were literally hungry for a win here at Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. One of them was the Dodge, that's Fred Schaefer. The other was Andy Brass and Bob Chandler's Bigfoot. Fred Schaefer, when it came down to the end, you went across the finish line first, but the word we get, DQ, the wind's going to go the other side. How does that make you feel?
Not real well, Army. They said that I crossed the center line down there in the grass and touched Andy, and I told them there was no center line down there visible, and I think I did touch Andy. But that's the way the call is, and I'll go with that.
All right, you kind of live by the rules, and you die by the rules like a true gentleman. I know he is. That's the way he's going to take it. But Andy Brass, on the other side of the coin, you guys have worked awfully hard all year long. Hadn't been good luck this year, but luck did play a role today, and you're going to luckily take a win out of here.
Yeah, we have. You know, the truck's not been running the greatest for us. We've been having a lot of problems with it. We've been changing a lot of things. We come out here today, it seemed to run a lot better. We was making some changes to the truck. Truck started coming along to us. We went all the way into the finals, got up against Fred there. You know, Fred laid down a good run. He's been running real hard all year, you know, and everybody's running real good. We got down to the end. We did lose the round, but as it come down to the rule, Fred ended up and touched us after the finish line, and they say you can cross the finish line. They don't have no problems with that, but when you cross the finish line and run into the other guy, they're going to DQ you, and that's what happened to Fred today.
You know, and then it's kind of interesting because both of these guys would much rather just win it on an all-out race. But, Gary, it's amazing that the old rule book played a role in this thing. But I will tell you one thing. Keep watching the show on Saturday and Sunday because this war is not over by a long shot. You know it, and I know it, and I guarantee you they know it. Back to you, Gary.
And here's a look at the latest creation from Bob Chandler Shops in St. Louis, Missouri. This is Bigfoot number 10, Andy Brass, the driver. He is the fast qualifier. Now, we're going to take a look at his qualifying run from yesterday. Notice the sunshine. Yesterday it was warm, it was dry. Today, of course, it's very damp. That'll make a difference in the competition. But here is a look at the fast qualifying run for Andy Brass in Bigfoot number 10. And now he lines up against the Grave Digger, the 1950 Chevy panel wagon driven by Lyle Hancock.
Gary, I find it awfully interesting that these monster trucks are starting to develop their own personality, and probably the two most popular trucks on the circuit draw each other in the first round. The Grave Digger out of North Carolina in a far lane, powered by Chevrolet. Who does he go up against? Bob and Marilyn Chandler, Big Blue, Bigfoot, Ford. Look at the race.
Going to be all Ford. Big Blue. Bigfoot takes the victory over Hancock and the Grave Digger. So Bigfoot will advance. Andy Brass is the fast qualifier from yesterday's round of qualifying, so he will advance to round 2 competition. He takes the measure of Lyle Hancock. There's a look at Hancock in the cockpit of the Grave Digger. Obviously, the fans respond as we take a look at the rain falling here at Bloomsburg. They're back there under shelter, so they're dry. We'll take a look again now, and it was right off the start. Andy Brass cut a good light, and it was all Bigfoot as he takes the victory. Let's go down trackside and visit with Andy Brass.
Andy, tell me about the track.
Well, the track seemed to be pretty decent. You know, everybody was kind of scared of it at first, so was we, you know. We got up against Digger. We knew he was going to have to run hard. I heard him lose something. I thought he maybe lost another transmission. We kind of let off of it down through there. But we did stay on it over the first set and stayed on it right after the first set. The truck seemed to go straight and everything, so we thought we was going to hook up good. We was going to make a straight run, and that was all we was worried about.
Boy, that starting line is really crucial. Now, look, the drivers are doing dry hops, trying to dig a little bit of a hole where they can get some bite. Andy Brass will be coming out of St. Louis, Missouri in the Bigfoot of Bob and Marilyn Chandler.
A We talk about a new truck. Once again, this is a new truck, Bigfoot 10.
A lot of the Bigfoot trucks are out there that are solid blue. You see the red and yellow stripe down the side. That's an indication that it is an all-out racing truck built specifically for this truck. It's supposed to do this, and it does this.
And that is win races. Win
Yeah.
races he does. Andy Brass takes the victory here in round 2.
Well, the Nightmare crew,
Here's
they
a
know
look
they
at
took a shot.
Nightmare.
Now, this truck was previously driven by Steve Hess, driver of the Overkill truck. You got to remember, it's kind of like the silly season in NASCAR. These guys are starting to move around, seek the level of competition they want to be. There is one consistency. The blue Fords still run quick.
Andy Brass is in the cockpit of Bigfoot number 10. There's no changing of drivers in that particular vehicle. And it's going to be, once again, all Andy Brass. So Andy Brass will be in the final championship. He crosses the center line, but no contact. Remember, the rule states if you cross and make contact, you're disqualified.
Something broke on that truck. When he landed, you could see him working the throttle. He had to burp the throttle and try to get it settled down. Watch it. He'll land. A relatively good land. Now it comes good land for a monster truck. Now it comes around. Now he has to go to the throttle right now. Watch the wheels spin. See?
Well, once again, he crossed the center line, but
Earlier,
no
before
contact.
these guys
started out to stage, we had a chance to visit with Andy Brass, the driver of Bigfoot.
Andy Brass laying all the cards on the table. No friendship here, just the winner.
That's right. You know, Fred's been running hard. We've been watching. You know, the time's been real close here. Fred got lane choice on us. He's going to pull us in the left lane, you know. We don't have but one chance, so we're just going to run for all it's worth there and see what we can do, you know. We don't like the left lane because it's been throwing the guys real high in the air at the end, but it's just something we're going to have to deal with this round.
Of course, Bigfoot was the fast qualifier. Barefoot was the third fast qualifier, but in competition, Barefoot has been the quickest, so he has lane choice, and he, it's no surprise, chooses the right lane.
Both drivers have completed their dry hop, their stage. They're off. We're into the final. Who's it going to be, Gary?
It is Barefoot. Barefoot by less than a fender. Hang on. He almost crosses the center line, but this will be the first victory for the Dodge. Barefoot with the big Dodge Hemi takes the victory over Bigfoot and the Ford power plant.
You win on Sunday, you sell vehicles on Monday. That's why Dodge is in the sport, Gary.
Well, Dodge returns to the sport in a big way, so Fred Schaefer, the drag racing veteran from Pontoon Beach, Illinois, takes the victory here in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. Today, it's Dodge over Ford. Our congratulations to Fred Schaefer, trackside Andy Brass down to congratulate the victor. Let's see if we can't get a word with both of them. Army?
Andy, real quick, come here a minute. You know, I saw you come over to shake his hand. You guys, you're not enemies, you're not friends, you're racers. You did a good job. He did a good job. It was his day.
That's right. You know, Fred's been running real hard. We've been working on the truck. We've been coming up there. Times has been real close today, you know, and we knew it was going to be a good run, and we run as best as what we could, and Fred did, and he just got us a little bit.
Fred, thanks a lot, Andy. We appreciate you coming on. Fred?
Here's Army Armstrong.
Gary, your reference to music is kind of apropos at this time because there's an old saying, if you're going to play the music loud, it's got to be rock and roll, and we've already had the roll portion of that saying. Andy Brass literally rolled Bigfoot just trying to get in the program today here at Indianapolis, Indiana. There's another problem we're having here today. The weather, as you can tell, it is raining. It's raining hard. Any other type of motorsports anywhere in America, they would have called it off by now. But we're here to race monster trucks. That's exactly what you're going to see. That's what you tune in to see. You're going to see it. But instead of rocking and rolling, you may be seeing some slipping and sliding before this day's over. Back to you, Gary.
Army, you alluded to the rollover in qualifying. It's an all-out effort, no sandbagging in qualifying for these monster events. And here's a look at Andy Brass in the new creation of Bob and Marilyn Chandler, Bigfoot 10. He gets in trouble right here, rolls on over. Spectacular rollover, but very, very minor damage.
Well, the rollover was a result of the rear suspension breaking. Now, the rear wheels kind of had a mind of their own. After the first jump, you might be able to see it here, they kind of cocked themselves, see? Well, Andy Brass is trying to steer straight with the front wheels, but the back of the truck has got a mind all its own. They put it back together. They're going to be in competition today. But you always got to keep working on any kind of a race.
East of Indianapolis, and there, after the repairs were made, Bigfoot 10, Andy Brass, Bob and Marilyn Chandler's behemoth out of St. Louis, Missouri.
Just a moment ago, you talked about the Gravedigger being a race truck. The way you can tell this is the race truck Bigfoot is the yellow and red stripe on the side. All of the Bigfoot trucks have been solid blue. The race trucks have that stripe. Meanwhile, the GMC is trying to pull him back in the far lane. No way. Andy Brass has got this one covered, Gary.
Did not need the photo finish there. as Brass takes the victory in Bigfoot 10. As we indicated, he rolled over. We showed you the video earlier in qualifying when he got upside down. Very minor damage was done. The truck was quickly repaired, and you can see that Andy Brass will be a player here this afternoon. One more look now. Andy Brass, the near lane. He gets the good hole shot right here. Kirk Dabney really didn't stand a chance in Nightmare. And the big blue Ford takes the victory up against Bigfoot and Andy Brass.
You know, I find it interesting. Each of these trucks has their own personality, but there's a chemistry. Now, Andy Brass, Bob Chandler, they think alike. David Morris comes back into the sport with Gary Cook, and it's almost like two heads make one. But what we call this in the sport, Battle of the Blues, brothers. Here we go. One a General Motors product, one a Ford. And the Ford will take the victory. Bigfoot, the Ford fans seem to enjoy that here at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. Andy Brass in Bigfoot 10, the latest in a long line of racing trucks at a Bob and Marilyn Chandler's shop in St. Louis, Missouri. There's a look at David Morris in the Equalizer. One of the things that I find interesting is David Morris's truck was the first to come with the engine behind the driver and down. The latest state-of-the-art truck is in the far lane, Bigfoot. Where's the engine located? Behind the driver and down.
And the driver carries the banner for cockpit.
Well, an interesting thing is he was involved in drag racing, right, but he came to the sport of monster trucks with Chevrolet. He looked at Dodge and said, look, I've got to make some more horsepower to stay ahead of these Fords and other Chevrolets. That's where that marriage came to view. We told you about Andy Brass and Bob Chandler, the yellow and orange stripe. Told you this is the racing truck, engine located behind the driver and low. And who's that? None other than the #1 monster truck driver, Jim Kramer, who is now serving as Andy Brass's mentor and crew chief. You think the corporations are not involved in this sport? I guarantee you, everybody from Ford's watching the truck on the right. Everybody from Dodge is watching that truck on the left, Gary Lee.
All right, a name brand shootout here at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. Look at the horsepower as Andy Brass nails the hammer, and he takes the margin in the big blue Ford. So the Ford of Andy Brass, Bigfoot, knocks out the Dodge Barefoot of Fred Schaefer. And Brass will go on to challenge for the championship here at the Indiana State Fairgrounds in Indianapolis.
Boy, they're like two old war horses. They just keep going at each other. Schaefer's already thinking right now about the next time he goes up against that blue truck.
As we take a look one more time, the near lane, the blue Ford of Brass, the far lane, the red Dodge of Fred Schaefer.
What's the attitude of Schaefer? See, he's wheels up in no man's land. He was actually on two wheels. Meanwhile, Andy Brass, no, he's going for frequent flyer miles. He's flying to the finish.
GM against Ford. And there's the big blue Ford. Bigfoot 10.
And they're just about, the word we get is there is such thing as a Bigfoot 11 on the drawing board. I think the sport's not going forward. The technology each week keeps coming out. Porter driving the same truck he's had for a long time. The Privateer. But you're not going to scare him one bit. Andy Brass, class driver in a class rig. It's a classic setup, Chevrolet and Ford.
It's a team effort, too. Remember, Bigfoot with Andy Brass got upside down in qualifying. They had some repairs to make. They made the repairs, and here he is in the championship round against Gary Porter. In the background, the Pepsi Coliseum. So many fine sporting events indoors here at the State Fairgrounds over the years. And it's going to be Andy Brass. Andy Brass by a fender, and still the enthusiasm is right there. How many years has that man, Jim Kramer, been around motorsports? But he's still very enthusiastic every time Bigfoot wins.
The victory is just as sweet now as the first time they ever got in this truck.
It's not often that Jim Kramer is here to watch the Bigfoot 10 compete, because he sometimes is in other parts of the world displaying other Bigfoot models.
Literally, plus he runs the research and development program, so he's a busy little camper. We're glad to have him here today. And, you know, he's just as happy about the win as Andy is. We got a good racer. Both trucks leave good. No man's land is where the Ford settles down. Brass sings it.
And right there, you can see by a fender, Andy Brass is victorious. He is trackside with Army.
Andy, I tell you what, when you guys go after each other, it's like two old war horses. Neither one of you are going to blink out there, are you?
That's right. So, Gary, it's always been tough competition, but the blue Ford there just showed it come through today. You know, the track's been a little rough. It was sloppy out there, but we've been working on these Firestone tires that proved real well for us. We got some real good traction, pulled hard down through the track. The truck did real well for us today.
Well, so on a rainy day, Bigfoot was able to overcome a lot of adversity to take the win. There's a look at Jim Kramer there on the left with the headsets on. Of course, they had to come back from a rollover in qualifying to win it all, but they do. So for Army Armstrong, I'm Gary Lee. thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week on Trucks and Tractor Power. Now here's the Armstrong as we are about to conclude round 1 competition with the big blue Ford of Bigfoot. Andy Brass in Bigfoot 10 out of St. Louis, Missouri. And he will go up against Wayne Smozanik in Tropical Thunder. And he's come a long way from Jupiter, Florida to be here in the Hoosier State.
Smozanik is running unique suspension. It's a cantilever suspension. The rear shock on the truck is a Custer shock, one of the big shocks we talked about, but it's mounted at about a 45-degree angle. Meanwhile, Bigfoot, he runs what we call a soft suspension, and that seems to be the trick to make the truck land soft in the middle right here. Now they can put the horsepower to the ground. We got a good race.
Oh, good ride for Smozanik. I mean, he has to be disappointed that he lost to Bigfoot, but still, he gave Andy Brass all Andy could handle.
Yeah, I tell you what, Smozanik will be a player in this sport just like he was in drag racing. Just takes that all-important time in the seat. Andy Brass bumps him on the starting line a little bit, but Smozanik stays cool and tries to go after him in no man's land. Now, you notice the Bigfoot truck has already settled down. Smozanik has one shot. That's to just lay all the cards on the table and fly it.
10, and this is Andy Brass out of St. Louis, Missouri.
Now, he's going to be going up against his arch rival. Yeah, I'm saying it and I mean it. Because the other truck in the far lane, Snakebite, was built for one reason, to beat Bigfoot.
Hey, look, Colt Cobra does not have his mask on. Can we zoom in there? Darn, we didn't get him.
He got away from us. Well, it's for real, believe me, because Cobra would love nothing better than to thump Bigfoot this close to home. Snakebite out of Colorado, Bigfoot out of Missouri. Both of them powered by 460 cubic inch Fords. Andy Brass comes out quick.
Andy Brass won it in the no man's land. And once again, that chassis works so well. The truck settles down. He's back on the throttle sooner to get the horsepower to the ground.
Exactly.
He won it in no man's land.
Exactly. And also what causes that is the balance of the truck. This truck was built on a computer. The engine is located behind the driver and below the driver. So the center of gravity is much lower to the ground. Watch how, oh man, wheels up start for Colt Cobra. He was coming out smoking. But Andy Brass settles.
And see how much Colt Cobra is bouncing over there in no man's land by a fender. The big blue Ford
advance into the finals right now.
Well, I would not feel secure with that suspension strapped together as high as these guys are getting in the air.
You don't have to. He's the guy that's got to be secure.
That's a good point. I can sit here and watch it. Andy Brass nails the whole shot. Andy Brass, well, he got a little closer there at the end.
I'd say Brass got it, but Morris was driving it out the back door. He wasn't afraid of that thing one lick, was he?
Andy Brass got the whole shot, and there is a look from Gary. He says, that we didn't get him that time, did we? Still a big smile on his face. Once again, Andy Brass drills him right here, but watch him come back.
Watch the bounce in the far lane. See, that unloaded the chassis. Meanwhile, Brass, he's going about his business and going to the other end.
So once again,
that's where we are right now. Jim Kramer, the crew chief for Bigfoot, he's laid his hands on the table. Just a moment ago, saw the crew chief for the Barefoot Dodge. Everybody knows what's expected. Now, the word we get is Dodge found a problem with the blower. They don't think they're going to be able to get the horsepower they need on the starting line. That's just the rumor mill. We don't know. Meanwhile, Andy Brass and his crew are going about business as usual. They don't worry about the other lane. They just go to the other end.
You mentioned earlier how you like the format, the fast loser coming back in a 12-truck format. Well, obviously, the fast loser from the second round was Barefoot, and here he is in the championship.
Well, that shows you the format works. It shows you the promoters trying to put on a good show for the spectators, because throughout an entire monster truck race, you are only going to see the best. Only the strong survive in this sport. That's what we're looking at, 2 survivors. There's only going to be 1 in just a minute. They're completing their dry hops. They've actually dug down about 8 to 10 inches in the ground on the starting line. Again, 1,500 horsepower, 10,000-pound trucks capable of jumping 40 feet in the air. Hey, this has got to be a marathon.
You can see the cord going from Andy Brass's helmet. He is in radio communications with Jim Kramer. We saw Jim with the headset on. They've been using radios for a couple of years, but a couple of giants in the sport of monster truck racing in communications right now, Andy Brass and Jim Kramer.
It's a race time. What's going to happen? Ford, Dodge?
It's all Ford, and maybe because of the horsepower problem you alluded to earlier, Army.
Well, you don't take anything away from these guys. They won it. They went to the line and they won it. Andy Brass, a great job. He'll pick up these Penda money for this event. The Dodge boys, they don't have a thing in the world to be ashamed of either. Fred Schaefer's representing them in a class manner.
Well, Dodge is back, obviously, in motorsports in a big way. And it's represented right here in monster truck racing with a pair of units.
Yeah, Ford's doing awfully well this year, too, Gary.
Well, Ford's been doing well for a lot of years with Bigfoot, Bob and Marilyn Chandler, and Andy Brass. Takes the victory here at the Indiana State Fairgrounds.
The replay comes up. The camera just turned away. The trucks do have to go back over scales now to weigh. I told you to weigh 10,000 pounds. Before he's official, they will have to weigh the truck, and that's where he is now.
Well, there's a look at Andy Brass as he takes the victory over Fred Schaefer, and Fred's somewhat disappointed looking over his truck. Let's go back trackside and talk with our champion.
Gary, we knew when the final was going to be lined up, it was almost going to be like a street fight, and that's what it was. You guys just went at each other, Andy.
That's right. You know, Fred's been tough competition. We've been watching him all day. His time's been real good. We've been running real fast there. We've been pretty equal there. The round before, Fred turned in a real impressive time, and we knew we was going to have to push the truck hard to beat him. We watched him. He was making some adjustments to the truck. We thought maybe that might help him, might hurt him, you know, so we knew we just got to come in, play the light a little bit, get him off the line, and once we could get him off the line and make him try to catch us down there, maybe he'd just push it a little harder than what he should and hope that maybe something would break on it. But it seemed like I say, it was a good run. You know, it felt like I had the lead all the way through, and it just seemed like the Blue Ford come through for us this time.
Well, congratulations. You had them standing on their feet in Indianapolis. Good job.
Well, thank you, Army.
And a good effort by Side Racing, a unique shot from inside the cockpit with Andy Brass strapped in the cockpit of Bigfoot 10, the ever-evolving Bigfoot truck. Andy Brass, of course, out of St. Louis, Missouri, Bob Chandler's creation. So many drivers have been in the cockpit, but Andy Brass, perhaps the most noted of all. And we are staging now for side-by-side competition. Also alongside in Tropical Thunder, there is Wayne Smozanik. Wayne from Jupiter, Florida. So Wayne didn't have far to go. We're down here in his neck of the woods.
No, you're exactly right. He's excited about running against the big boys in his own backyard. He's really going to try to put on a show for the home state folks. You know, he's got the lane closest to the crowd. He's closest to the wall. He is really going to try to lay a shot here for you. He can make a name for himself.
Oh, he's in big trouble. He hits that outside wall that you talked about. Upside down, Wayne Smozanik. Oh, he's putting on a show for the fans. There goes the catch fence. Oh, my, you can see the damage to the suspension, the front axle.
Well, I said he wanted to make a name for himself. I don't think that's exactly what he had in mind there.
Well, Army, let's take a look again over the first jump. It's almost fender to fender right now, but he gets in trouble as he goes over that second set of cars.
Okay, now the wall we talked about at the opening can be your friend, but can also be your enemy because it will not give an inch. He was in the left lane. He had some space. He's not in that scenario now. He is right next to that concrete wall. He better trust that welder.
Here's a guy that's had great success in monster truck racing, Andy Brass in Bigfoot number 10. I like that view in the cockpit as he starts to work the pedals. He'll be in the near lane. Ford against GMC.
Both veterans going after each other. Boy, the Ford leads the line hard. Can't believe he's doing a wheel stand with a 10,000-pound truck.
Scott's in trouble again, though. Scott headed off to the right. Of course, Bigfoot wins it. We were watching Scott Stevens, as were they, as he got in trouble in that far lane up against the outside concrete wall. We're coming back with more from Ford
Chevrolet. Everybody's trying to out high-tech the other guy.
And, of course, this is the Carolina Crusher, the new Carolina Crusher, as we also look at the new Bigfoot. This is Bigfoot 10.
And every time you hear about a new truck, they just upgrade the truck. Again, get back to the technology question. Yeah, exactly. Keep going quicker and faster.
Look at the torque in Bigfoot as Bigfoot. Oh, it was driver's side down for Gary Wiggins. He looked like he was in the Auto Thrill Show there. Boy, he hit over on two wheels.
Joy Chip would be proud of him.
Well, the victory goes to the big blue truck. That was Bigfoot 10, Andy Brass, but just by a fender. Watch the far lane. Watch Gary Wiggins. Look how far over he gets on the left side. Over the second set, and right there, he almost brought it on over.
Almost high-sided. You're exactly right. Good camera angle. What it is, it shows us he did not hit the jump square. That's exactly what the problem was, but he brought it back in.
That thing repaired the next couple weeks or so.
But I'll tell you something. I don't think that that's going to bother Dabney. He's running close to that wall all day long. Like I say, the truck is bouncing, but it is bouncing straight. He's got one chance for his first win of the year to put Bigfoot away. He is so psyched. He's got literally rifle vision. He's not looking at anything left or right. He's looking straight down that track to the finish line.
Driver position in the middle of the cockpit there in Bigfoot. That is the Bigfoot 10 truck that goes in a long, long line of big blue Fords. Kirk Dabney in the usual position there on the left side of the cockpit. All right, the fans are ready to hammer down.
Whoa!
Good run.
You call
Almost
it.
a photo finish.
I can't call it.
Well, let's wait and see. From our vantage point, it was just simply too close to call. The fans are yelling. I'm not sure who they're yelling for. Let's look again, Army.
Boy, Gary, both drivers lead. Watch them come over that first ramp. Both of them are off. Now, on the throttle right now. See, no man's land. They put the horsepower down. Look at the rear tires kicking up dirt from that no man's land.
One of the best finals we have seen in a long time. It's Bigfoot by a fender. Both drivers down there in the pit area. Army has both of them.
Well, Gary, let me grab you guys real quick here. First of all, Kirk, congratulations on a great job. You really got the truck dialed in.
Thank you, Army. We appreciate it. We tried hard to be here. We're glad to be here.
Andy, this guy's playing hardball with you today.
Hey, he was, you know, we was watching the times there. Kurt was real steady all day, and we knew if we ended up with him in the finals, he was going to have a hard run for us.
Well, congratulations to you and the rest of the Bigfoot team.
Well, thank you, Arm.
One of the best finishes we have seen in a long time. Our congratulations to Andy Brass and Bigfoot. And of course, we'll find out if those are tap shoes or ballet shoes as we're ready for round one competition. Here's a look at the big blue Ford. Andy Brass in the cockpit of Bigfoot. Andy, of course, out of St. Louis, Missouri, always a perennial favorite with the crowd, a perennial champion as well, as he will line up against Gary Wiggins in the Bill Brandt Chevrolet. That is the Carolina Crusher.
You know, it's kind of interesting. Gary comes over. He's been around the sport a long time, but he's teamed up with Gary Porter to drive this truck for him. And you notice what they did on the starting line? You're seeing a lot of the technology from drag racing come to this sport. They're doing what we call dry hops. They're trying to get a lot of heat in the transmission. Mark O'Gara of Diamond P Sports takes you on board with Andy Brass.
Oh, who won that one? That was close. Did you see the wheel stand coming over the finish line by Gary Wiggins? Talk about horsepower.
Man, they're loving every minute of it. How'd you like your ride?
I like that. I want to drive Bigfoot by myself sometime, though.
By yourself,
You're not going to go for a ride?
No way, no way.
Let's take a look again as they drill this hole shot.
Yeah, but they both roll the first jump. Now they're on the throttle. Now they pull that trigger.
Andy Brass has the nose down. He wins by a fender. Too much horsepower. Nose way up in the air for Gary Wiggins. So Andy Brass is victorious, and he's down there with Army Armstrong.
Andy Brass, I bet you'll agree with me on one thing. Gary Wiggins is a good monster truck driver, and he really pushed you on this one.
Yeah, he did. You know, we knew Gary was running real hard on his times and stuff. We watched him in qualifying. His time was real well. He laid down some good passes yesterday. We knew we was going to have to run hard on the first one. We thought we wasn't getting off the line quite like we'd like to see the truck get off there. And down at the end, I knew it was going to be a good close race, and Gary did run real good.
Well, as we go to break now, we'll give you one more in-truck look at Andy Brass's win here at Naples, Florida. We're coming back with more of the Suncoast Jamboree Nationals. Stay with us.
By run. The incentive is always to go hard because if you're the quick loser in the previous round, you come back.
What haven't we said about Andy Brass, Bob Chandler's Bigfoot out of St. Louis, Missouri? You're going to win in monster truck racing. You have to be able to beat Big Blue.
That's right.
Round two competition, a good in the cockpit look over the left shoulder of Andy Brass. All decked out in blue and white, the driving suit, nails the hammer.
Rock and roll song, come on and take a ride. Boom.
And that's what it looks like inside the cockpit with Andy Brass. He takes the victory easily over Shadow Value King Crunch because Scott Stevens had some trouble there at the starting line. So he'll go back to the pit area. And Andy will continue on in competition. Now, when you're kicking the hill, everybody wants to knock you off. And right now, they're all shooting at Bigfoot. He has won so many of these battles that everybody wants to beat Andy Brass and Bigfoot.
Dabney could do it if he lays down a good shot. He's close to the wall. We're on board. Take a ride. Dabney.
Dabney got him. Kirk Dabney got him, so he gets what he wanted. He beats Bigfoot. However, now Lyle Hancock will not get Foot in the final.
Yeah, but he's going to have a face full of nightmare before this one's over. Look at the tire. Something broke on the left rear of that truck. The
Let's
wheel.
see if we can pick this up right here, Army. You say something broke on the left rear.
The left rear wheel right now is solid white. And the shot before we came to this, a seal or something had broken. Part of that wheel was black, but that's irrelevant. Right now, the final is set, Gary. Well, Auto Value King Crunch vehicle pulled up against none other than his own nemesis, Andy Brass and the Bigfoot. Both trucks full well knowing you got to run this sport all the way out the end. Stevens stayed after the Bigfoot truck, and even though Andy Brass took the win light, Scott Stevens will come back by virtue of a 460 quick time loser in the first round. So that will roll him over into round 2 of competition. That's the name of this sport. You can't give up and stay alive in this sport. Andy Brass rolls out to the line into Big Blue. Bob and Marilyn Chandler, Bigfoot Ford out of St. Louis, Missouri area. Been here before many times. Andy Brass will be going against none other than Racing Radio sponsored Auto Value Parts Stores King Crunch Scott Stevens. Now, Stevens has recently moved his operation from Woodlands, Texas to Indianapolis to be part of this new economic development program that the city of Indianapolis is doing, trying to entice racers to move here. It worked. Stevens goes against Brass. Who's it going to be?
It's also a rematch from round 1 because Scott was the fast loser from round 1. And once again, it's Bigfoot. So Andy Brass, and look at this. Snakebite wants a shot at Bigfoot in the dome.
He wants to get a piece of him today. Both drivers really able to figure the track out. Horsepower prevailed. Well, he's talking about Digger. He's looking down the road. Let's see who's going to come out of this bracket. Andy Brass, the Bigfoot truck, 460 cubic inch supercharged Ford engine. Basically the same type truck is on the other side of him. Engine in the same location. Colt Cobra, the story is, built this truck for one reason, just to beat that blue Ford, Gary.
Well, you saw the expression on Colt Cobra when he saw that Bigfoot had won and he had a chance to race against him. He wants to put those fangs in Bigfoot here tonight.
He did it. I think he did it. And then has to burp the throttle on the other end. That's why the truck was built. You might be watching a dream come true for a guy out of Colorado. Look at here. He is pumped up, just like you said.
Yeah, he wanted a shot at Bigfoot in the dome, and look at this. He got his shot. He made the most of it and won it.
Oh, what a start by both trucks. Well, Gary, we understand you have the driver of Snakebite. What's he got to say about it?